Почитувани гледачи, ви посакувам добре дојде во ова најново издание на емисијата Мој термин, специјално издание кое што е посветено токму на образованието на нашите млади, на образованието кое што се одвива токму во странство, односно во Велика Британија. И кога зборуваме за образованието на нашите таму, зборуваме за Чевнинг програмата и ќе имаме можност да разговараме со нашата гостинка која доаѓа од функцијата советничка за Чевнинг стипендиите при Чевнинг секретаријатот во Лондон, Велика Британија. И токму со неа подетално ќе поразговараме и за критериумите кои што се однесуваат на добивањето на оваа програма, која веќе 25 години во Република Македонија има луѓе кои биле, се вратиле и во своето мандатно практично двегодишно враќање назад во државата, успеале да ги пренесат своите знаења и искуства на други луѓе и соработници и сограѓани кои што ги научиле во текот на престојот во текот на една година за своите магистерски, односно специализирачки, односно мастер студии. За сите детали и за се она што ве интересира, но и секако за деталите кои што ќе ни ги пренесе нашата гостинка во однос на конференцијата која што се случи организирана од македонските Чевнинг стипендисти поврзани со изгледот и состојбата на регионот по лондонскиот самит на Западен Балкан кој што се одржа пред некој месец, се разбира во продолжение од разговорот со Рут Деар. Останете со нас. Ruth Dear, I must say that I really like your surname. It sounds very well.
Thank you.
You work as an advisor about the Chevnинг program.
Yeah.
And even though the Chevnинг program is, but very few people are very familiar with that. Can we just explain for the broader audience of Macedonia what is Chevnинг?
Yeah, sure.
When did it happen? Why does it happen? And then we will continue with every other question connecting about it.
So Chevnинг is the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office's global scholarship program. So it enables international students to come and study for a one-year master's in the UK to study any subject at any university. It started globally in 1983, so this is our 35th year. And it's
Congratulations on the anniversary.
Thank you very much. And in Macedonia for 25 years. Change.
An interesting thing when we are talking about the alumni of Chevnинг here in Macedonia, there was a conference also that held place in Macedonia. What is your comment on that? How was the conference?
From this weekend?
Yeah.
It was fantastic. So this was a great opportunity for the alumni from the whole region. So this was actually funded by a central fund that all the alumni all around the world can bid into centrally from London, and then all the bids are assessed and they decide in London. I'm not someone who makes that decision, but it is decided in London who will receive that funding, and the point of it is to aid and assist our alumni to create an engaged network. So this is exactly what happened this weekend, because the Macedonian Chevnинг Alumni Association brought together alumni from the whole region, so from all the Western Balkans countries plus Bulgaria, to discuss current issues and see how they can work together and open dialogue in lots of different aspects of life. And so it was great. I was really happy to be able to attend so that I could meet a lot of the alumni.
When we are talking about alumni, or when we are talking about people taking the Chevnинг program, taking part of it, in which areas of education we are talking about the most?
So there isn't, we have no specification on this. So this is for scholars to choose, or candidates I should say, to choose, because they're not scholars yet.
Yeah.
Their chosen subject. So the reason for Chevnинг is to for the British government to fund and support people in country to really make change, so to be future leaders and decision makers. And this doesn't only mean in politics, this means throughout industry. So for us, it's really important that when people apply, they really explain to us what they want to do to change the country, to make change, to develop the country. And so this is why we don't have anything specific, and we don't say you have to study this or you have to study that. We want the scholars to tell us what they need to study in order to achieve their goals in the country.
But also what their country needs, probably.
Absolutely, yeah.
When it comes to achieving their goals. So does it maybe usually comes to the point where the scholars are usually choosing political fields, political areas, or economical ones?
Not really. We have a wide range of alumni. So they've studied all sorts of different things. So from journalism to the arts, to human rights, to law, of course politics and economy and business, and these are important things to study, but we really want it to be as broad as possible, because a leader is not just one type of person. And change doesn't happen only through one industry.
Yeah, I asked that because when you usually talk about leadership and leaders here in the Macedonian context, that means that you come to a point when you're talking about politicians and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is why I asked. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and obviously that's fantastic, and we have had previous Chevnинг scholars who have gone on to be presidents and prime ministers, but they are equally important for us from Chevnинг as the people who have gone on to be filmmakers and journalists and yeah.
When we are talking about the Chevnинг program, are we talking about maybe you've probably mentioned that, but I would be more specific on that. Talking about education that can be taken only in London or its area, or we are talking about United Kingdom
as a whole?
As a whole.
Yeah. So any subject, any university. So of course, London has some fantastic universities. I live in London, so yeah, I think it's great. But it's more about the candidates researching where to study, where is the best place to study. So that might not be London. And I think it's great to see different parts. London will always be there, you can always visit.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the perfect course for what you want to achieve is in Aberdeen, go to Aberdeen and study there. Or anywhere else. So it's anywhere in the UK, Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and it will be supported by Chevnинг.
And we are talking about Chevnинг. Are we talking about only about the Western Balkans region, about Europe, or globally? That scholars globally can take part in the Chevnинг program?
Oh yes, sorry, yeah, Chevnинg is offered in over 160 countries and territories. So currently not in America or the EU, but otherwise, yeah. So when you become a Chevnинг scholar, and then ultimately when you graduate and become alumni, the network, like I said, of 50,000 is globally.
It is.
So
that's a big number.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. So when scholars arrive, they have an orientation event. And this is with everyone, and then they also have a farewell event at the end of their year, and these are the 2 points in the year when everyone comes together. It's actually about to happen, so when I return to London I will be going to the orientation event, and this is such a fantastic opportunity to see everyone from all over the world interacting with each other, and even people who they meet at orientation and they get to know each other a little bit, and then they go to their respective universities for the year, and then they see each other at farewell. It's really great to just see people like, oh, how have you been, and what have you been doing, and then people stay in touch. And this is part of the global network, and hopefully, well, I think that it does happen that that scholars use this once they are alumni and they are thinking about their chosen field. There's someone, there's, for example, if you take a journalist, there are journalists who have met all others all over the region, so they can share best practice, and and they have those contacts forever.
What does it take to be part of a Chevnинг program, or not specifically the criteria, but what is the most important thing that you should have, or to obtain, or to work on, so you can take part in the Chevnинg program?
So I think there's not just one thing.
Okay.
We're looking for, so perhaps I tell you a little bit about our assessment process.
Yeah.
So we have four main areas that we are looking to assess when we're looking for Chevnинг scholars. So this is leadership, and as I said before, leadership comes in many different forms. So this is more for candidates to show us how they have been a leader so far and how they will be a leader in the future, or again, like decision makers and people who want to make change. And then networking, so how have you used your network before? How is the best way that you have found to network? And then studying in the UK, so really research where you want to study and tell us why. And then the last one is about your career plan, so short-term and long-term goals. Obviously this is personal, but also how will this benefit the country? How will you come back and what do you want to do? And how can this master's help you achieve what your plans are?
So talking about Chevnинг program, we're talking about only of in the area of Masters of Arts? I mean only MA?
No, MA,
No?
MSc, MPA. Yeah, the only cap there is if someone applies for an MBA, because these are very expensive.
Yeah.
So Chevnинг will fully fund all courses except an MBA. So MBA is covered up to 18,000 GBP, which is still pretty good. And then the scholar would need to self-fund the rest. And we also cover all other aspects. So there's a monthly stipend, so for living costs. Your accommodation would be covered. Economy flights, return flights, visa is covered if you're awarded a scholarship, and then there's also sometimes additional grants if there's extra travel that you need to do or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
within the program that you have chosen to study
exactly,
for.
yes.
Yeah. And how does the process go? So it is annual, we get that as of 1983.
Yeah.
Yeah, super, I remember. Good. And then at what time of the year should a scholar be prepared so they can take part in the assessment process, or when does it begin, the dates or stuff like
so
that?
the timeline. So timeline is always the beginning.
Timeline.
It's always the applications open in the beginning of August, and then they end, or they close, sorry, at the beginning of November. So this year it's the 6th of November.
Well, that's over 3 months, so
yeah,
it's
so
quite
it's a long period. Yeah, hopefully it's enough time. Yeah, it's always around the 6th. It will change slightly every year. After that time, applications are assessed. So they are assessed initially on eligibility criteria, which perhaps we can talk about. And then after that by an independent reading committee. So we have 2 members of the committee who are experts in the region and an academic expert who will look over all of the applications and make their assessment. So they're completely independent of the Foreign Office, the British Embassy and the Secretariat where I work. Once they have made their assessments, this goes on until December. And when we come back after New Year in January, we are able to send the long list and ultimately make a short list with the embassy, and these are the people who will be interviewed. So the interviews happen between March and May. Usually in Macedonia this is in April time, but it varies. It has to be between these 3 months. And then there's a period of waiting, so anyone who's been interviewed in April then has to wait till June, unfortunately, because we have to collate all of those results from the whole world. So
that must be interesting.
It takes a bit of time.
Being on hold.
Yes, yeah, it must be frustrating, I understand, but it can't be helped, unfortunately. Yeah, so then in June we would tell selected candidates that they have they are being offered an award, and this is when they need to provide us with an unconditional offer and their English language requirement. So this needs to be provided to the Secretariat by 11th of July, and then they are Chevnинг scholars, and then they have to apply for their visa, etc. But they would, and around this time, September, October, they would be heading to the UK for their studies. So yeah, it's a lengthy application process. So basically, it takes a whole year, and there are points at which I'm sure as a candidate you're thinking, tell me what my outcome is, but yeah, ultimately we do let people know.
I've seen that for the first time this year. I mean, this is the first time that it had that such a big visibility on social networks. But this year I knew everyone who took the Chevnинг part in the Chevnинг program as of September now, because they were all taking photos of themselves. I got the Chevnинг on Facebook and Twitter.
Chosen for Chevnинг.
Chosen for Chevnинг,
Yes.
bravo. Thank you, Ruth. And that is a very good idea about the visibility.
Yeah.
So you're working on your visibility much more than before, right?
Yeah,
now.
hopefully we want to encourage people to apply. We have a good amount of applications from Macedonia, but we always want more from great quality candidates. So yeah.
How many people took part of the program this year?
So how many people have? How many scholars do we have?
Yes.
Yeah? 7 this year from Macedonia.
7?
Yeah, and then overall.
Do you remember the areas? No.
Don't,
I
sorry.
think they had gender sciences and human rights. Remembering the people now from the social media, right?
You probably know better than me because I have 20 countries, so
Oh
I
my
have got
God.
quite a lot of scholars to keep track of.
That's a lot of work to do. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
So now they already started now?
I think all of them are now in country. So yeah, courses in the UK usually start the end of September, beginning of October. So they should all be at their universities. They might be in orientation weeks, etc. But yeah, they're all
So
there.
afterwards, when it is finished,
Yeah.
so all the scholars should go back to their countries.
Yeah.
It's part of the criteria
Yeah.
to obtain a Chevnинг scholar.
Exactly. So the terms and conditions of the scholarship, because as I've mentioned, the whole point of it is to come back and really make change in the country. So when scholars have finished their studies, they return to their country of origin for at least 2 years. After this time, then they are free to work abroad, although we hope that people do stay in the country and really want to use their expertise that they have hopefully gained through their masters for the benefit of the country and to really invest and develop, because that's the whole point of Chevnинг, is the reason behind the program. So that's what we hope we choose people who do that, and I think we do on the whole.
So this year, by the information I have, as of this year, there are also new scholarship stipends when it's coming to the moment of Chevning's cybersecurity fellowship.
Yes. So I'll explain a little
new?
bit. Yeah, I'll explain a little bit about the
It's
fellowship.
also open for Macedonia, right?
So it was.
Oh, it was.
The
But
deadline has now passed.
maybe it will
for
be
that,
again?
But it will be again
Okay.
next year. So
Let's talk
yeah,
about that.
Yeah. So I'll explain a little bit the difference between the scholarships
Yeah.
and the fellowship. So as I said, scholarship is for future leaders.
Okay.
Usually it's for people. There's no age limit, I should say. But usually it's for people.
That is good. Okay.
Well, you can be a leader at any age. There's no
that's true.
there's no limit on this. So this is usually for people who are more starting out on a career path.
About the fellowship.
The scholarship.
The
sorry.
scholarship,
The
okay.
fellowship is for people who are more mid-career. So a fellowship is specific in its focus. A scholarship, you can study anything. The fellowship, this one is cybersecurity. It's open to the whole of the Western Balkans. It was part of the Western Balkans Summit that happened in London.
Yeah.
So there are 6 places currently. Next year, I don't know, the funding and stuff is not all confirmed, but it will run. And this is a 10 to 12 week course in January. So this is why the timeline is slightly different, because it's a shorter application period. So it will open the same time as the scholarships, and then it closes a bit earlier. But everything else about the application is the same. So currently it's being assessed by the reading committee, and then there will be an interview, and this is conducted via video link also with London and the partner universities. So the cybersecurity fellowship is currently run at Cranfield University, which is in the Midlands near Milton Keynes in the UK. It's a security and crime specialist university. So they really know what they're talking about, and they.
Oh yes, I'm sure they do. Very particular. Okay.
Yeah, and so I am hopeful. We had some good applications this year, so I'm hopeful that we will have at least one Macedonian fellow this year, or well, I suppose next year in January. And so I would really encourage people who are already working in cybercrime or cybersecurity to really consider this, applying for this. Obviously, it will have to be next year. But
So there must be, they should be only people working in the area, or maybe also people that have education in the area, but they're not working particularly in cybersecurity?
It's better if they already have a background in it. So for a fellowship, you need 7 years work experience, whereas for a scholarship, you only need 2 years. So it is aimed at people who are already in this sector, because the point of it is that you're really focusing on this area of cybersecurity, and bettering yourself in that. But it doesn't mean that you wouldn't be eligible, but I think an application from someone who is already working in this area is much stronger.
Yeah. So still there is time for Macedonians to apply
for
until
scholarship,
November the 6th, I think.
6th of November, 12...
For the scholarship. Now we are talking about the scholarship, not about the fellowship.
6th of November at 12 midday UK time, which would be...
What does that mean?
So there will be 1 hour, so it would be 1 p.m. here.
1 p.m, okay.
Yeah, that's quite good. It's almost about the same. Yes, so people can still apply. So just to clarify the criteria, you have to be from a Chevningg eligible country. So Macedonia is one.
One of them.
You need an undergraduate degree. We don't have any specifics on what your pass rate is, but you must be able to obtain a place at a UK university. So typically this is the equivalent of a 2-1 bachelor's.
To obtain a place at the UK university, so you apply to the UK university?
Yes, separately to Chevningg.
Separately? They approve of your application, and then you apply for the Chevningg, or?
No, you can do it at the same time. In fact, often people do Chevningg first because the university applications don't open always at the same time, because Chevningg is quite early, you know. So when people apply, they must give 3 course choices.
Okay.
And when they make their application and they tell us, I've applied for this course and this course and this course, they can tell us at what point their application is. If they haven't applied yet, that's absolutely fine, because you don't need to fulfill this criteria until July. So you just need to know what you want to study and where.
Super.
That's
great.
Yeah, so I'll just carry on with the... So you need an undergraduate, you need 2 years work experience.
Okay, 2 or 3?
2 years.
Okay.
And you mustn't have received any previous UK funding to study. So on the work experience, this isn't only full-time work. So full-time, part-time, voluntary work is also counted, like internships, apprenticeships. The only thing that's not eligible is if it was something that was done as a mandatory part of study.
So that is like the practice that you
have. But most other things that we will consider, because this is your experience of work, and it doesn't have to only be a full-time job. So,
okay. Did we miss something so far? Should we talk about something that you want to say but I didn't ask about?
I don't think so. We've mentioned or perhaps talk about the English language criteria, actually.
Yes, that was the thing that I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Yeah, so...
Maybe we should switch.
So you have the eligibility criteria, which is for when you're submitting your application.
Okay.
And then you can submit that. And then later on in the process, or at the same time, I guess, you can consider, by the 11th of July, you must meet the other 2 criteria, which are the unconditional offer from the university and the English language requirement. So,
which means the English language requirement in translation will be?
English language requirement.
Certificate or something?
Yes. So we accept a few different types of kind of exam or qualification.
For example?
So academic IELTS, or the TOEFL, or Cambridge exams. I think there's a Pearson exam as well.
That's quite enough. IELTS and TOEFL are quite enough.
Yeah, so those are probably the ones that we get the most. There's more information, of course, on the website. It's important also to point out that we have a Chevningg requirement. So I know particularly for IELTS, you need a 6 and a 5, at least a 5.5 in all of the different areas. But this is separate from the university requirement. So universities will also require a level of English, and it may be different to Chevningg. It depends completely on the course and the university. So candidates, scholars would need to double check that. But that would be part of the application process and in obtaining the unconditional offer. So it's all kind of wrapped up together.
Maybe you've mentioned this, maybe I forgot because we've been talking for a while. But what in particular Chevningg means as a word, or?
Chevningg is the, I think, official residence of the foreign minister in the UK. So Chevnинг is actually a manor house in Kent.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
It's a bit strange.
Yeah, Chevnинг program.
So actually when Chevnинг was first in 1983, it wasn't called Chevnинг. I think it was just called Foreign Office Scholarship. I don't know, International Scholarship. But to give it some kind of brand and a meaning, they decided to name it after the house. So
yeah, branding is better. That's right. Ruth, we had very nice conversation for around 30 minutes so far, and I think that we managed to tackle a little bit more things so it can be known better,
hopefully,
when it comes to Chevnинг. What is your personal message that you would like to give to those who would really like to take part of the Chevnинг program?
So I would just really encourage people to apply.
Why?
Why? Because I think this is a great opportunity. I really believe in travel and study abroad. So that's just from like my personal perspective. I think it really changes you and has a great positive effect. Personally, I have travelled quite a bit, and I think it's changed who I am for the better. Definitely.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
But I also see that when I talk to alumni, they definitely say, it was a great year. It was really useful for me, and has helped them to develop as people, both personally and professionally.
Then meeting people professionally that maybe you will work with.
Oh yeah, exactly.
In the future.
And also making friends around the world that you can go and visit.
Yeah, right.
That's just a side note. And I would, like I said, just encourage people to apply, and I think more specifically, when you're making doing your application, and also if you were invited to interview, please think about examples for all of the things that you were saying about yourself. So it's very easy to say, I am really good at this and this and this. Okay, please give us some examples of how you can show this, just to demonstrate, I'm a great leader because this, that and the other.
Ruth, thank you very much for this interview.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
And I wish you a pleasant stay in Macedonia while you're here.
Thank you.
And hope to see you very soon.
Yes, I will definitely come back.
Почитувани гледачи, ви благодарам за вниманието со кое што не следевте и во денешното издание на емисијата Мој термин, и искрено се надевам дека можеби од она што ви беше пренесено преку разговорот кој што го имавме заедно со Рут Деар како советничка на Чевнинг програмата при секретаријатот во Лондон, Велика Британија, имавте можност да она што го слушнавте или да го примените за себе, и при тоа да се инспирирате можеби во кое било доба од животот да станете стипендист на Чевнинг, но исто така можеби да се инспирирате и да поттикнете некој друг да го направи тоа со она што вие сте го слушнали, пренесувајќи го како идеја и како знаење. Ви благодарам за вниманието, ви посакувам пријатен остаток од денот и се гледаме повторно.